property. Property in Spain will vary a lot. Some of the property issues here in Spain that most people tend to have news of are illegally built properties. We can safely say that these properties are pretty much a thing of the past, but that if you are thinking of buying property in Spain, you need to consider the following point, which is a vital point, and perhaps my number one tip to anyone who's thinking of buying property in Spain. It is not illegal to purchase an illegally built property in Spain. So you can go to the notary and you can sign for a property that's been built illegally. So it's a vital point for people to be aware of. So the actual transaction is not an illegal transaction. Vitally important to make a note of that and keep that if you're thinking of buying. Once again, the cost of properties depend. The housing market in Spain tends to be slightly different in the sense that here in Spain they build properties for different purposes, and therefore you need to establish what exactly you want to buy and where you're going to buy it, because it is relevant knowing what you want to buy to where you're going to be, because the properties they build. I remember before coming to Spain, people saying to me, in Spain the walls are paper. Well, if you are buying a holiday apartment in an urbanisation along the coast, which is going to be a 2-bedroom and apartment, you more than likely will be buying that kind of property where you're going to hear what your neighbours are doing. But these properties are meant to be for holiday purposes, and they're not meant as residential properties. So this is where it comes in. Don't buy a holiday apartment if you're thinking about residing in the property all year round. So you need to establish what it is that you're buying. If you want to buy something where you're not going to hear your neighbours, then you have to consider about residential properties for that purpose, and perhaps you have to distinguish between being on the coast and perhaps being within a Spanish traditional community where housing is built to a different standard, and therefore these issues are really things that you need to consider. The other type of properties are fincas, properties which are built in the countryside on 2, 3, 4, 5 or 5,000 square metre plots of land, and these properties tend to be very popular, and therefore we're talking about space here. One of the things that perhaps in buying these kind of properties out in the open space and countryside is really the services. When I talk about services, I'm talking about where is the nearest hospital. If you're a young family, where is the nearest school? How long does the emergency services take to get to the property? Sort of basic things that you really need to establish. Where is the nearest supermarket? And really, if you go in there bearing in mind that perhaps practically no one will speak English, so need to really estimate, assess rather, where you want to buy your property in Spain and the purpose of buying that property, and then work with that. And the other thing about property also is that if you're buying property overseas, in other words, if you're going to buy a property in the UK or in Germany or in France, here in Spain, so if you're going to purchase a property in your country of origin, it actually works out more expensive doing that way. So you're better off travelling to Spain and looking around and taking your time, and then buying, and then obviously finding the property, and then having the property checked over, and that would be the best way, because the property will, apart from being here and seeing what's going on, the property is going to cost you less, and you're going to get a feel for the area, and perhaps understand what's going on. The other tip I can give you about buying property here in Spain is perhaps not to buy property in the summer. Perhaps the best time to buy property is actually in the winter. If you're thinking to yourself why the winter, it's because the winter months are quiet, so you really get a feel for the place where you're going to buy a property. Because if you're thinking of spending the winter months there, perhaps you want to know what it's like during the winter period, and you might find that it's quite different to the summer, where it's very buoyant, lots of action going on, lots of people, plenty of activity, the sun, so there's a contrast of environments here in Spain in terms of winter and summers. So you can have somewhere where it's extremely busy in the summer to the opposite in the winter, very quiet and there's nothing to do. So also need to focus on that when you're buying property. But in general, most people tend to be happy with the properties they buy here in Spain, and I'm sure you will find your property and be happy here too. It's just a matter of finding the property. Okay. Hi, I'm Chris, and I'm here to talk to you about living in Spain, and I'm going to talk about town hall registrations here in Spain. When you eventually buy a property and choose to reside here permanently, you need to register with the town hall. The town hall is the only official organ of the state which will confirm that you actually live where you say you live, and in order for you to be able to confirm that, you need to register on the town hall, and the town hall then needs to give you a certificate which is valid up to a 3-month period from the date of issue, so that you can then carry out other types of registration and purchases here. So for instance, if you purchase a vehicle and you want the vehicle to be registered to your address, you would need a town hall certificate to show that you live where you say you live, unless previous documents have been acquired, such as an NIE certificate or a residencia. But also you need those 2 documents to also register the town hall, which I will cover that later on. So the town hall, you need to be registered. You need a town hall certificate to enable you then to register with doctors, traffic, and other issues to do with the administration here in Spain. Another thing, if you don't register on the local town hall, you are to a certain degree not helping that town hall in acquiring the budget that it should be receiving from the regional government, because the budget that's offered to each town hall is based on the number of citizens that appears registered on the town hall register. So the more people on there, the more money will be received by the local town hall to maintain services. Because you're registered on the town hall, this doesn't in any way that you lose any kind of right from the country of origin that you're from. And if you think that by not doing it, the authorities don't know that you're here, then that's a false pretense that you're under because as soon as you buy a property in Spain, and prior to buying the property in Spain, you need to acquire a document called an NIE number, which is an ID number, which is linked to your passport and all your personal details. So everybody knows you're in Spain and you've bought a property in Spain. So you know, being on the town hall register makes no difference whatsoever, and for the purpose of town halls getting the amount of money that they should do based on the number of people they should do. Also, being on the town hall register means that you can vote in local elections and European elections, as long as you've submitted that right at the town hall. You will be notified in due course to when those elections come up, and you can participate and vote. And that's vitally important for communities where you have a large number of expats who wish to see some kind of change or improvement, is to obviously then on the day of voting, vote for a party who's going to allow you to have these, to have the extra services, or to have what you want in your area. So it is important to be on the town hall register, and it's known as the padron certificate. Excuse me. So get yourself down to the town hall. If you haven't already registered, get yourself down there, get yourself registered. You need your property title deed, your corresponding ID. If you're renting, your rental contract and your corresponding ID, and off down there and get yourself registered. And like I say, it'll make no difference. It'll make all the difference to the local community, and it's something that you need if you want to use other services. So padron, something you need to do.